As I'm sitting here listening to things Jesus is showing me, I got a little different message than the messages that have been coming lately, which is more difficult to hear because it's more about the end of times. This one is in regards to the house that I'm sitting in right now. In this house, it was given to us by God. Um, when I moved here 10 years ago, I really didn't have any money. And in the States, it's easy. You can go and get a house with very little down and, finance it for 30 years and make your payments. Here you can't. I mean, your closing costs alone are going to be 7-8% of whatever the purchase price is. So, you at least have to have that, and the banks won't lend to an American or a foreigner for less than 30% down. So it's almost impossible to do things like you do in the U.S. But I had it on my mind that, there's something out there for us. And so we looked and we looked. And one day this house come on the market. It was on the market already, but they dropped the price. And keep in mind, this was 8-9 years ago when the economy wasn't good at all. And things were starting to come back from the '08 crisis. Anyways, we came and looked at the house. And when I was here, God said, "It's your house." So I was like, okay, cool. How are we going to do it? And I immediately went out and tried to make it happen with trying to manipulate, payments and stuff so that the bank would accept it and etc. And it just wasn't going to work. So we just came to the owners eventually and said, okay, look, this is what we can do. Take it or leave it. We're going to give you this much down, which was nothing. It was like 13,000 down. And we'll make payments for 3.5 years at 7% interest. That's all we can do. And they took it. So that was the first thing. And that happened, by the way, about 4 or 5 months after God showed me that this is your house. And we drove by it a couple of times, and every time I drove by, I told my wife, that's our house. And she had a hard time believing it. So once we got it, then the other problem was it was basically an empty shell. There was some windows in. The kitchen was about half done, 3/4 done. The bathroom's nothing done. So we had a lot of work to do and really no money to do it with. But somehow we got it to at least where we could live in it. It wasn't finished, but we could live in it. And over the course of a lot of years, we added on and we redid some stuff or finished up some stuff, and now we have a pretty big, very nice home. I remember to get into the house, there was a wall that you couldn't see the front door or anything, made of lava rock and cement. And, we knocked that down, and now we have a beautiful entrance as you come in, full of flowers and plants and stuff. And the front door was just a trashy door. And we had that for years. And then we finally replaced it with something that looks very, very nice. And the point is, slowly but surely, this house just completely changed into something that, not everything is perfect in it. And in this house, nothing ever will be perfect as far as the cosmetics, because when you add on, your floors aren't even, so you have a little step here, a little step there, and just in general, for example, when you go into the bathrooms, you normally step up because of the plumbing and the way they do things here with the cement floors. So it's not perfect in the way that you would see it as far as the world's concerned. But then also being in the real estate business and seeing all these different homes, I have yet to see the perfect house where it's like, you know what, if they would have just done this or they would have done that. And part of that is everybody's preference. The point is applying that to the spiritual side. When you first come in contact with God and you hear Him and you know it's Him, you're like this house. You need a lot of work. And, you have to make a decision. Am I willing, first of all, to take on that project? Do I have the resources to do it? Because as Jesus said, you got to count the cost. And he's referring, he's using an example of building costs, but He's referring to the cost to you to redo yourself to become holy and perfect in Him, because it's going to cost you. And when you make that decision that, yes, I hear you, I want to be what you want me to be, then it's a slow process. He slowly but surely changes things in you and starts modifying things, and some things just completely the opposite of what it was, until you get to the point where you're complete. Now, to the world, you might not look perfect. A lot of people that would come into our house would see imperfections. But, 2-3 years ago, we had this house for sale, and it sold within a month. And we had quite a few viewers, and I didn't expect it, because it's not what people are looking for. It's 3 levels instead of single level living, and it's a big house, and most people want small. But we had a lot of viewings, and we had it sold within a month, which is really good for Mexico. It's not like San Diego or LA, where you can put a house up and it sells in a day with multiple offers. But the short of it, or the point of it is that it became something very, very appealing. And the point is that's what God's doing with you too. Now, you won't be appealing necessarily to the people of the world. This house isn't appealing to most of the buyers, because again, most of the buyers want a small house, not 4,000 square feet. They want 1,500, and they want 2 bedrooms instead of 6, and they want single level living and not 3 levels with a rooftop making 4th. So it's not that you're going to appeal to the majority or all the people of the world being holy. As a matter of fact, most people won't like what you say. They won't like what you become, because when they see something in you that's not in them, and they don't really recognize it and understand it, but they won't like it, because it shows their lack of something. And most people like to be on the same level as you or higher than you. They don't like to look up to you. And I see it all the time, even with, like, for example, President Trump. I'm not a fan of President Trump, but I'm certainly not a Democratic fan either. But what I see is so many people trying to tear him down. And it's because they don't want to see somebody else at a higher level. They don't want to be president, but at the same time, it's like that. And they expect everything to be their way. And when you're walking with Christ, it's going to be your way. When I designed this house, and we added on to it, we did things in certain ways. We did it according to our taste, not other people's taste. The last house I built in Punta Azul, we did it a combination. It's like what we really like, but I also know what we really like is what other people like. And most importantly, I built it as a single level home, although it has a 2nd level with some bedrooms. You can live on just 1 floor without stairs. And we built it and finished it with very attractive features that almost everybody likes. Nobody likes the same thing all the time. But the point is that we did it more towards what people would like. And that is another point. Are you going to please people? Are you going to try to gain the whole world and lose your soul? Or are you going to please God and not please the world and gain your soul? Because that's what it's going to come down to. And it is a building process, and you have to go step by step by step by step and pay the price. Putting money into this house over and over, we paid the price. It cost me time and energy to put the money into it. It cost me blood, because a lot of stuff I did myself. And many times I cut myself or was sweating really profusely, or when I knocked that wall down I told you about before, man, I thought I was going to die. I think I had a heat stroke. I was working that hard, and it was hot. So the point is that that's what it takes, whatever it takes. There's things that, it's just going to push you to the limit. And the outcome is what's important. Now that we're here, the house is basically done. I mean, it's just a matter of maintaining things at this point. But unless we decide for some dumb reason to keep going up and adding on more space and rooms, which we really don't need, it's done. We're not going to add on to it no more. And that's it. you have to get to that point. Eventually you get to the point where God's done with you, where He censored everything in you. There's nothing more to censor. And then at that point, you just keep moving on and you maintain what you have with Him. And when some rust or some problems show up in your life, you get rid of them. You fix it, and you keep yourself with Jesus. Pull away, you come back. You pull away, you come back. You don't let yourself go all the way over there where also now your house is in such bad shape you have to tear it down and start over. You maintain. As always, seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and then everything else will be given to you. Peace.